Hey guys, I just got back from the UK and I wanted to do a little bit of catch up and talk about how the trip was and also go over some questions that you guys had answered. I was thinking of answering a couple questions today. Some of them would be sort of, well, what do I do as a job? Where do I live? What's Super Minecraft like? And why I came back to YouTube. So I was going to answer those questions, but before I get to the questions, so here's how the UK went. I left almost a week, 2 weeks ago. Jeez. Like the 22nd of March? It was a Sunday. I don't know. It was a while ago. My sense of time is screwed up. I think I traveled into the future and then back into the past for a little bit. I don't remember. It's April now, right? So I ended up in the UK. Heathrow turns out miserable airport on numerous occasions. I have now learned that and still keep going to Heathrow. It's just tragic there. It's the worst. It's a mess. Just a hot, gross, line-filled, polite mess. It's also very stylish, but still. I did not enjoy it. So I was down in Oxford to start my trip, which was a really pretty town, actually. There are a couple of pictures up of me on Instagram of that, and couple floating head kind of pictures. I had a great time, and then my work kind of got really carried away, so I didn't get a chance to take more pictures or get out really at that point. I was just trying to work. And so Oxford was fun, really cute. All the shops closed at like 6 o'clock in the evening though, which was difficult. It made shopping difficult. After that though, I ended up in London, which was nice, actually better than the last time I went to London. I only went to London once before and didn't really like it. I went with my grandfather, who's Scottish, and it was just kind of awkward because I was just walking around with a man in a dress the whole time. He wears a kilt all the time, or he wore a kilt all the time. And I was in London just for like a night, watched the England-Lithuania game, which was just fun. And then I took a train up to Glasgow, which was really cool. Glasgow's awesome. And just an interesting town. The weather was miserable, and I loved that. I also love terrible weather. Oh, and lots of sirens going on in the background. I think I live near a fire department. I haven't figured that part out yet. Maybe this apartment's by a fire department? Not near a hospital. My old apartment was near a hospital. And so the weather in Glasgow was awful. I had a hard time understanding what most people were saying. They had a hard time understanding what I was saying. It was a really fun language barrier. The drinks were great. The bars were fun. But what's interesting is like center city Glasgow's really nice and touristy. It was almost like Denver, if anyone knows what Denver's like. Like the downtown of Denver is like hip and like trendy and like it's popular and a lot of people go there, but it's really sort of like the outsides of it that are the more interesting and fun neighborhoody parts. And that's what Glasgow is like. The west end of Glasgow is really interesting and fun and has just a lot more character to it. Like by the University of Glasgow. That's what I learned at least. I could be way wrong, but I had a lot of fun out there. So I recommend heading to the west end of Glasgow, which is pretty easy to get to. I took a bus, so it shouldn't be hard at all. Anyone can do it. And I was out there for work, as I think I mentioned in my last vlog that I did right before I left, like just a day before I left. Eesh. And I work as a managing editor for academic journals publishing. I work on a lot of the library and information science journals that my company's got. And so what I do is I mostly deal with academics and like get stuff together for journal publications. It's very, very exciting. Moving on to the questions. I did not write down who asked what. Shoot. I'm gonna go into this anyway. So, someone had asked where I live. I currently live in Philadelphia. I'm actually really close to Jess and Jason. I'm just a train ride away, which is kind of really great. I can just go out and see them. I have to bring donuts every time. Well, I don't have to. For some reason, I decided it was a tradition that we were doing from now on. But I actually moved back to the Philadelphia area 3 years ago at this point, I think. My family lives around the outside of Philadelphia, and I was here and then moved away. I used to live in North Carolina, actually. I used to work as a field geologist down there, doing soil sample work for mostly bridge constructions of many types, but it was roadways and bridges mostly. I was a geologist. Now I work in publishing. And so I moved up to Philadelphia, and I like it. It could rain a bit more. It gets really too hot. But I also just like Seattle's weather, I think, is amazing because it's just overcast and raining most all the time, and it never gets that warm. It's great. I would consider moving to Seattle. I'm kind of digging that whole scene as far as weather goes. Also, I'd move to Glasgow, which is very bitterly cold. It's really rough. Oh man. So someone had asked whether or not doing Super Minecraft Legends Untold was hard. And the answer is yes. Very. So let me just take you through a sort of process that we do for an episode of Super Minecraft Legends Untold. So normally Jess or I will write up a script, and then whichever one writes it, so if I write it, Jess will look at it and make any changes or edits to it that she feels needs to be put in there, and then we'll talk about the script and make sure that it's set. We collaborate on that, and hopefully when that is done, we've got something that we both believe is pretty solid, and we go with that. And once that happens, Jess will then send that script out to all the other talents or voice actors that are going to be in that episode. So like Zombie Unicorn or Bertgasm or Lucario's Claw. And they will then provide the lines and send those back to us. While that's going on, Jess, Jason, and I usually will then start filming the scenes and doing the blocking. For those of you that don't know, blocking is the term just used to describe characters' physical movements on stage or within a scene. So that's what that means. And we'll do that, and that is one of the more intensive tasks we've got to do for all of Super Minecraft, because we'll need to shoot separate angles for this, or different angles for one scene, or reshoot, or something didn't quite turn out, or there was a bit of lag in one of the players and so the timing's off. There's a lot of particular things that can go on and wrong in those moments that we then have to try and redo because we want to make it perfect for the editing. And once we've got the blocking, and then Jess and I have done our lines and we've gotten the lines from all the other voice actors, then the editing begins. And editing is probably, it's fun and interesting, but it is also the most painful thing you can ever do to yourself, because all you're doing is scrutinizing just about every detail you can possibly think of and anticipate in trying to making this episode perfect. Your job is to make it perfect, which usually drives someone crazy, usually nuts. And so we'll take all the components we've got, the blocking, the voice acting, and we'll put it all together and edit it. And then normally at the point when you feel that you are about to go crazy from editing, that's when it's pretty much done and you know that it goes up. And then we post the video. It's really that simple. And then once we've posted that video, we start the whole process over again. It never ends. So it's not exactly hard, but yes, it's very hard. And the last question that I was going to get into today was, someone had asked what brought me back into YouTube. As you guys know, or some of you may know, I left because I had a lot of stuff going on outside of YouTube and I really couldn't devote enough time to it. So I ended up taking a hiatus or a break. Originally, I wasn't sure I'd be coming back, actually. And what had happened was Jess and Jason had reached out to me, and they were heading off to PAX East, and they invited me along, which was great. And this was last year in 2014, we went to PAX East. And PAX East was amazing. It was just a great time. I mean, it was typical PAX stuff. You just hung out, you got to see a lot of the new stuff that was coming out. Evolved was just being talked about at the time. And Hyper Light Drifter was also on show there, which is an amazing looking game, and I think that's coming out in June now. I have to double check, because I really want to play that game. It looks so good. And anyway, we were at PAX East, having a great time, and on the way back, Jason was taking me to the train, and I was telling him how I kind of missed parts, like, I didn't miss some of the YouTube stuff. Like the really late nights and just the, like, when certain softwares would fail, or you would do a night's recording and realize that it didn't record or something. And it's just there's some heartbreaking moments in that, or really frustrating. But I remembered a lot of the fun stuff, which is mostly like interacting with the community and talking to fans and friends. And I had told him that I had missed it, and he said, well, you should probably start your own channel then. If you really miss it, just get back into it. And I did nothing. That was in May, and that was in April, I think, that happened. And I did nothing for 5 months, as what he said just gnawed at the back of my head, slowly trying to claw its way deeper into a safer place in my brain. And it seemed to have done a pretty successful job of lodging itself in there, because it wasn't until much, much later, as I was contemplating this idea of starting up a channel, which is daunting. It was different than what I was accustomed to. I mean, back with Challenge Accepted, it was more, you just show up, you do some recordings, you hang out, and you're having a fine time. And then you were handing off that material to someone else, and they were doing some of the back end work. You were kind of just there, and it didn't really matter, and then you left. With starting my own channel, I realized I would be doing a lot more of the heavy lifting. It'd be more intense, more time. And that was a little daunting. But after a while, I decided that I really wanted to get back into it, that I missed doing this kind of work, that I missed these kind of interactions. And so right around the end of August, I decided that I was going to start up my own channel at that point. And then I went out to PAX Prime with Jess and Jason, and we all hung out and had a great time. And that really, going out there and then seeing what Jess and Jason were doing, really, like, seeing them interact with other people and just doing this kind of work really solidified what I appreciated about it and remembered why I wanted to do it in the first place. And so that was why I decided to come back, because I really missed a lot of that interaction and being part of this community. It's an amazing community to be a part of. Are you kidding? It's fantastic. And you guys have been the best. It's been really great. And so I really just want to say thanks. I think I said thanks in the last video. I'm going to say thanks again, at the risk of being redundant in that. But you guys should know that you really make this worth it, and it's been really fun, and I'm hoping the next 6 months are going to be really fun, and the 6 months after that will be really fun. And just to keep putting out fun and quality content, and really, like, have a back and forth with you guys to see what you think is a fun game, or why it's fun, and what elements make it that. To have these kind of conversations and topics. But anyway, that's really why I wanted to get back into YouTube. So that covers pretty much the Q&A for now. I'll look through some other questions. If you've got any more, shout them out and I'll see what I can do. If I've got enough, I'll try and put together another session and post that later on. And we'll have some stuff. As you can see, I'm oh, wrong way. This mirror thing is different. I'm finally starting to put up stuff behind me. Can't quite see the other one. Let me see if I can tilt this camera up. There we go. Oh, bad with the camera too. But I'm finally starting to put some wall art up. This is some stuff I had framed. It's Zach Gorman's, some of his prints, which I love his art. It's so good. If you've never seen any of his stuff, I really recommend it. His website is magicalgametime.com. Definitely check it out. He adds this amazing narrative to a lot of early Nintendo games that didn't really have explicit narratives. And he just really puts something on there that makes it so good. It just makes it like sad and addicting. it's one of those things where you're just mad at yourself because you never really you never thought that that would be it, and you realize that when you see what he's done, that it's the only way it really could have existed, and you're like, God damn it, that's just good, I wish I had thought of it. Anyway, so I'm gonna maybe try rotating some stuff in, make it more interesting, but at least I've got art up now. I mean, before it was just a blank wall behind me. We're making progress, people. Look at this. Art.